Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 6 Degrees of Associations. I'm your host, Lucas McCann. With me today, Andy Keith, CEO of MultiView. Welcome to the show, Andy.
Thank you, Lucas. I appreciate this chance to sit here and have a conversation with you and talk all things related to associations for the next 30, 45 minutes.
Mike's yours, Andy. Give us a little bit more of an introduction than I teed up for you, because who to do it better than you, and then tell us about your current role at MultiView, and then we'll go back in history and discover how you found associations.
Yeah, so I've been the CEO here at MultiView for the last 5 years. I've worked here for 17 years. We've got 4 different offices, 400 people, and I've got a pretty full plate here. So, my job here is really to lead people and to give them the tools and resources that they need to succeed. So that's kind of how I see this role. So
yeah, wonderful. That's 17 years. It seems unique these days, right? Anybody stay at one organization that long? There must have been something that's kept you there. Tell us a little bit about MultiView, and for the audience that doesn't know, that's living under a rock, tell us a little bit more about what y'all do.
So we produce digital media platforms and content for associations. And I would say that at the end of each day, what we're really doing is we are connecting buyers and sellers within a very niche audience. And so if you're we're delivering content to the member who's the professional. They may be the material handling operations manager at a manufacturing plant. And what we do is we're delivering them content that's paid for basically by somebody who sells forklifts or something like that. We've really kind of expanded our product set over the years to really meet what the modern marketer needs, and also to try to bring these technology platforms to the association. So they've been great partners in this. We love the B2B space, and to a much greater degree, we really love working with the associations. So
yeah, my early experience, as we talked about sort of pre-show with MultiView, was at ASAE. You all made years and years ago, quite a splash in terms of, some entertainment. And I just said, I think that was a great move on your part as an organization to sort of get the name and the brand out there, because associations are a unique space. And in the olden days, if you will, some of the biggest attended sessions were, how do you work with associations?
Yeah.
And I thought you guys did a great job of getting their attention, and sometimes that's the hardest part, aside from speaking the language. But, tell us a little bit about maybe that evolution. How are things changed? What was the idea there, and what has it kind of become?
I think, really, to your point, it was about building a brand and being noticed. We were a huge sponsor at all of the ASAE shows. We still attend. We love that event. We think they do a wonderful job. I think for those who have been around long enough, you've seen where we had Olympic ping pong players in our booth, Ferris wheels, the money chair, all of these wild and crazy things to get everybody's attention. Followed then by the party where we would bring in a band and really just kind of, everybody from association executives all the way over to having the exhibitors attend. And so it was great because we were serving both of them. And so those parties were great. I think at times that, we've gotten away since Brandon and I came into our roles as president and CEO. I think the one change we really wanted to make was kind of to leave that behind. We felt we had done all we could with that. And now it's more about, investing in our partnerships, really spending that time while we're there with those people. And it's hard to tell everybody about what exactly it is you're doing when the music's that loud and the drinks are flowing that freely. So,
yeah. The reunion is happening, right?
Correct. Yes.
It does feel like that, right? If you've been going to this event for several years, it's some of these people you see once a year in person at this type of venue, and it's difficult to grab attention. And again, I think some of those things that you mentioned do that. You have to sort of stand out to then be able to talk about the product and the services therein.
Yeah. This, to us, I mean, it's a wonderful chance. I mean, where else am I going to find hundreds of our partners descending on one piece of property? And it gives us that chance to really sit down and have some good, intimate one-on-one conversations with them, ask them how things are going. What are they looking at for the future? What are they trying to solve for? What challenges are they experiencing? Things of that nature. And so really, I mean, it's a great opportunity for us to really just go there and to get that information. And then I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I'm not there to kind of spy on some of the technology innovation that's being created each year, making sure that I don't get left behind. I mean, like anybody who doesn't admit that is not being forthright. So in each year, I'm always amazed at the companies that come up with these tools to really help serve the members, you know? So kudos to everybody in this space. And my guess is that the association executives are bringing those ideas to them in the first place. That's what spawned the idea in the first place, or the innovation. So,
yeah, within the network, right? It's a big world that gets really small really quickly. There is some good collaboration and sharing. I think there are spots outside of ASAE where people do come up with these ideas, and ASAE has continued to sort of lean in on trying to be that resource of collaboration through, you know, committees and empowering people to go out there within the community and learn so that they can be a promoter. But ASAE Annual, you know, that's a good one. It's the Super Bowl, as we say internally, for what we do, and you want to be there.
Yeah, definitely. We agree. It's for us, I think the importance of associations, the role that they play in our economy, it is imperative. It's crucial. It's, you know, the legislation, the advocacy that takes place at the association space. And then, you know, a lot of people forget about this, but 1/3 of all Americans are members at some form of association. I think, I don't know how much, like, you know, everybody in college was a member of AMA, right? For the most part. When I graduated college, I went into being a golf professional at the club, not on TV, but giving lessons and stuff. And so that's the PGA. So that was kind of my introduction to associations and what they did and things of that nature. So
through the PGA. And then how did you find MultiView originally?
So I was doing, I did mortgage lending and then small business lending at Bank of America. And then along came 2006 and 7, really not 6, but more 7. Everybody says the housing crisis was 2008, but it's really starting to impact the banks around 2007. So at that time, I just kind of reassessed what it was. I was still young enough to make a career move and without it, you know, hurting my career. And so I took a chance on what I would call was MultiView at the time was a mature startup. And so it probably had 35, 40 total employees. And so that's how I wound up here. That's how I was introduced to associations. And I've loved it ever since. So
from 40 to 400.
Yeah.
You've ridden the 10X wave.
We have. And we used to be 825 at our biggest. And so that tends to have a great impact on your bottom line. So, you know, you got to produce, you know, a lot of revenue. And I think that what we've done is we've kind of brought this down to, you know, I kind of think 4 to 450 is the perfect spot. So for now.
Talk to us, Andy, a little bit about the life cycle of and the reasons behind the acquisition and some of the positives that come out of that, right? I think there can be in the market sometimes a negative connotation around, well, they've been bought by, you know, $1 billion company, and, you know, the initial knee jerk from some people is, well, service goes down and it's, you know, we're just going to squeeze the dollar out here. But, you know, from your perspective, you know, what are some of the positives or opportunities that have opened up through that for MultiView?
I would say a commitment to an investment in the tech that we use each day and that we bring to our association partners. You know, we've got tools to manage all of their data. We provide reporting through our BI platform back to our association partners. So if you're an association executive who's partnered with MultiView to receive a news brief, we're going to be able to tell you of your membership who's clicking on, like, what articles they're engaging with. It also reports to them if it's a member or non-member, what exactly they bought, who bought it, and how much they spent on it. And so it's really some good actionable data that they can take with and help them either further their relationship, grow their share of wallet with that particular vendor, and so forth. So those are the tools that we bring to them that, I know that we think associations are these large staffs, and it can be at like AARP or somebody like that, National Education Association. That's inherently not the makeup of an association. A lot of them have a lot of volunteer staff and things of that nature. And a lot of our partners are somewhere between 15 to 50 full time. And so anything that we can bring to them, we're that's one of our goals, is to make sure that we are additive to them and seen as an extension of their staff. So.
Yeah, they absolutely need extensions for the work that they're doing and the missions that they're driving and the representation, as you said earlier, of our economy, of the member companies that they are backing and advocating for. It sometimes amazes me how small the staff can be for somebody who's got 50,000 members or even a few hundred members, but those members represent some of the largest organizations in the U.S. And a lot of them, when you look at it, are wearing 6, 8, 14 different hats. And so as much as I can advocate for the right partners in the industry, it's a little bit about why we started this show, as I share with you, was introducing association executives and others to solution providers in our industry, of which there are many. And I think it's just so important to, as we navigate through this sort of gig economy, if you will, the notion that you have to do it all internally and you have to wear all these hats, I think, is becoming less and less of a mantra, and people are opening up to partnerships in fractional capacities, like this, where somebody that does something really, really well, and you had shared sort of pre-call, MultiView is that, right? You have a lane that you all stay in, and you have an area of competence, a specialty that you stay within. Talk to us a little bit just about that philosophy and internally how you all stick to that.
So you can imagine we get a lot of requests from different of our advertising clients and media partners. They'll want to bring new products to us, and one of my business rules is that we just simply don't do hobbies. We only focus on our core competencies. It's my belief that those things distract the entire workforce, and it starts making everybody kind of silently question, hey, what exactly are we supposed to be doing? What are we trying to accomplish here? And so we do a good job of that. And quite frankly, I don't think it's great for your clients when it's not a core competency of yours and you want to take it on. And really, at the end of the day, the business suffers and the client's return on that investment also suffers, in my opinion. So we've done a really good job of creating kind of a list of companies that we will refer that work out to, that we know that it will be done at a high level. So, and then everybody's happier, so.
Yeah, as having built and grown some small business, and you can appreciate this. And in the earlier days, there's a desire sometimes to say yes because you're building and you're growing. When you get a little bit more established, it's that there's a luxury to saying no, and there's also a lot of power and momentum.
Yeah.
What are some of those things maybe that MultiView says no to, but in the best way possible, because you want to focus, exclusively on the things that you're the best at?
Sure. I would say, first of all, websites, things like that, where you're going out, you're developing tech. Those are things that I'm not interested in. They're critical for it's your online brand, and but it's just not something that we want to focus on. What are some other things? I mean, we get a little bit of everything from SEO, or will you do our strategy, or will you audit our website? And so we have companies. So if we'll take a step back, we're a part of the Stagwell Global Group, which is Mark Penn, and so his group, and they're out of DC. Mark is the former Clinton advisor.
Yep.
And the thing about that is that they purchased us from Warburg. They made a nice investment in us, and the talent across the Stagwell agencies is like Code and Theory, Anomaly, Instrument, Assembly, which is one of the largest media houses in the U.S. And so all of these great, talented people, we can just pick up the phone or Teams chat them, because we're all connected, and we can make sure that work gets in the right hands. So just for context, I think that the Stagwell Group as a whole was responsible for 7 of this past year's Super Bowl commercials.
That's amazing. So do you have maybe some more tactical example of how does that ultimately benefit the associations you work with? To have that network. I mean, the investment is one thing. I can appreciate that. The acquisition of talent, I think, is at the forefront of any successful organization. But that network specifically, I mean, do you have some?
So when you have an association who's looking to do, redo their entire media and marketing strategy, we have those resources that we can turn them over to. I know that there's a recent group that has gone into one of our healthcare partners, where there's a new CEO, a new chief operating officer, and a new CMO. And they are wanting to take a look at everything, from the brand to the colors of scheme that they're using, to the message that they're delivering. Well, that's not really us. And so what we've been able to do is put them with one of our larger agencies out of New York. And so they're working together diligently to create that strategy, that look and feel, and to really go to market. And so, an association executive may or may not have that Rolodex, so to speak, as to who can they call and who can they trust, because and by turning to us, we can put them with the right people, because we understand associations a lot better than most agencies on Madison Avenue. So, yeah.
What would you describe as we're talking through? I mean, I hear media, I hear data, I hear technology. I mean, would you describe MultiView today as a media company, or are you a tech company?
We're still a media company. Yeah. We create the tech, and it's our proprietary tech. So when we go out and we create news briefs or retargeting programs, things like that, the portal for the reporting, a lot of that we can do since we have the foundation already. So what we can do is copy the code and set it up and kind of create almost a template like. We're able to reproduce a lot of the tech that we have. So
what's the next phase of MultiView? I mean, as much as you can share, but
Sure.
Where do you see the industry going, and what are you all sort of working towards in the next decade or two?
In 2 decades, I hope I'm retired.
There you go.
But you know what? I try to always remain fluid on this and have a lot of flexibility, because anything that I say right now, that could change. And same for you, Lucas. It could change in 6
Absolutely.
weeks or 6 months. What I'm really trying to do is meet the needs of the association and the B2B marketer. I would have said, and I'd be interested to hear your take on this. In 2005 through 8, I would say that B2B was a little slower to adopt tech and online, like really have meaningful resources allocated towards an online presence. MultiView was basically started because the associations were sending out those thick, high gloss printed buyer's guides. And so by the time that they sold those, printed them, and then had to mail them all, I'm sure that a lot of them produced a lot of money. I know for a fact that the majority of them were hoping to break even. And so that's how MultiView got started, is we played a pivotal role in bringing all of that online. We take on all the risk, and then we provide a royalty. So where are we going? I would say that there needs to be some more tech tools that are available to associations. I think that when I talk about data, it's data for making decisions. I would say that data should serve as a guidance kind of for the decisions that you're hoping to make. It shouldn't be the entire decision, though. My 20 years of experience, your 20 years of experience, that has to mean something. And so I think AI will play a big role. I'm not sure exactly how. I think that it's really AI to me is the ability to automate right now. That's where it stands as of today. Yeah. Anything more than that, I think you're kidding yourself. It may be at some of these bigger institutions, but I think for MultiView and the association space, I think it's more about automation. So we're leaning into that, and we're doing it without cutting jobs. Like, that's not what we want. What I want to do is free up our people to use their brain more, right? More time against thinking and strategy and looking across the horizon to see where else they can help, as opposed to being stuck in the mundane tasks that AI can do for us.
Yeah, agreed. There's always been this notion the association industry is 10 years behind as it relates to technology. And I think we've shortened the gap, maybe I'd say 5 years behind now, which is progress from where we were 15 years ago. And I agree the B2B is slow to adopt. And so if small business is slow to adopt, which, let's be honest, 99% of associations are small businesses classified by the government, less than 500 employees. We think that 200 employees in the association space is a really big business. Yeah. But in the business world, that's a very small business.
Sure.
And we still have people leading the charge, but we're essentially behind the curve. The AI piece, there are some very large organizations who have invested very large dollars and have applications where I think that is progressing their mission and their business 10x, year over year.
Yeah.
The association industry is still a lot about people. And to your point, I love the idea of using AI to automate and create processes that are more efficient, but you can't replace the personal human interaction. So if it frees up our people, for example, to make more human interaction with members or with clients, then that's a huge win. And I'm all in on the use of that technology as it relates to freeing people up from punching the keyboards or checking boxes in the CRM or whatever it may be, and maybe to a degree interacting with members on a first level entry standpoint. But I am also looking for opportunities to make human introductions as quickly as possible within that process, if you will, of their engagement with AI.
Yeah. I don't know that the association space will ever not be. I would say they're probably 3 years behind. But I got to tell you, what's taking place in that 3 to 5 years? They're refining that technology that just hit the marketplace, and they're scaling it, which then they can replicate it, and it becomes cheaper. I feel that it's the expense associated with the tech when it first comes out. And I just don't know how they'll ever overcome that, because they don't have the same budget as GE or Siemens or somebody, or 3M, right? And so once it gets a little cheaper and proven out, the association is not going to take on some of the same risk that a large corporation would. And so I've oftentimes wondered, I'm like, how can we get them to adopt it faster? And I'm like, well, it's the expense associated with it. When something new hits the market, it's at its peak in price, right? And then as it gets scaled and replicated out, that's when the expense drops. So, and it makes it more powerful.
And maybe we're in the association space, we're never meant to be on the cutting edge, just by nature of you are a little bit leading by committee. You're responsible for an industry. You're responsible for a very diversified membership in some cases, and not diversified in terms of the industry necessarily, but diversified in terms of their philosophy on how things should be run and the value to them. And so, yes, you have the barrier of entry of it's cost prohibitive at the beginning. And two, on the quality standpoint, which as you said that, I thought, maybe that's just as important, because which association CEO or board wants to stand up, be an early adopter, and have that be a negative influence on the value prop of your association, of which is broad?
Yeah. The risk isn't worth the reward in 98% of it, the time, So I don't fault them for that. They run very, very, I would say, top to bottom, very, very thorough organizations where they do a lot of checks and balances, and they are going to make sure that these solutions are proven before they're willing to roll them out to their association members. And you know what? Kudos to them for that. That it just goes to show you that they want to be additive. They do not want to be part of our problem. And I think we can all appreciate that. So.
And the smaller organizations, you'd think by nature that maybe they're more nimble. However, they sometimes struggle to get the board to meet on a regular basis or quickly enough, right? Their board may only meet twice a year. And so the opportunity to make quick decisions is sometimes hindered there. And of course, the larger the organization gets, the more voices you have to listen to, the more input you have, the broader the executive team that's making the decision. So it's not like a small business or a private business where you might have one person that makes the decisions unhandcuffed. We're moving forward with this. There's layers that take time, and the speed at which associations move is always lightning fast, right, Andy?
Right. I don't know if you see this. I see that in just the B2B, the corporate space as well. There's no one individual, unless you're talking about the owner, president, CEO, somebody like that, maybe a C-suite. Everything is a decision by committee these days, almost, it seems like. I'm not exactly sure why. I don't know. I always say this, and I can say this because we hire a ton of people out of Big 12 and SEC conferences, out of the schools from those sales programs. When we bring them in here, here's one thing I know without a shadow of a doubt. They are smarter than I was at that age. But what I also see is they are paralyzed sometimes in making a decision because they want to make sure that everybody's on board with it. It's almost like a collaboration for arriving at a decision. So I don't know if it's a confidence in their ability to make the decision, or are they worried more about the fallout from just being the sole person? And so I know that's for my employees. And so we try to empower them. And I know we were talking a little bit earlier. We have a rule here. It's okay if you make a mistake as long as you learn a lesson from it. But making a mistake and then not learning the lesson, that's detrimental to the company. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that in some of the employees and folks that we work with as well. And it feels sometimes in stark contrast to these organizations who sometimes do have that. And it gets a little bit glorified, maybe over-glorified, the Teslas and the micro-strategies that feel like there's one wild cowboy that can make any decision they want at any point they want. And again, sometimes that sort of seems to stand on a pedestal at times.
Yeah. Well, I guess Elon can make whatever decision he wants to make, I always laugh. People, that is not an auto company. That is a data company, And so it's further proof. Samsung, they're in hardware, right? TVs, phones, everything. No, they're a data company. And so it's providing people with information that they can then make a decision, after reviewing. So, and I think that's what MultiView is. One of the other things that we always say is, Lucas, it doesn't matter any of your companies, MultiView or a pizza franchise. We're all in the people business at the end of the day. because if my employees don't show up here tomorrow, there's no MultiView. Same for that, and same for the guy who owns the pizza franchise. So
Yeah, absolutely. And the people on the other side of the transaction are people as well. Well, hey, Andy, let me switch gears. I'd love to throw a couple of fun ones at you. This is kind of a classic, if you were, 6 degrees of association. But what's that thing at the beginning of the calendar that you make sure is always on there? Something you look forward to every year?
ASAE for sure. That's got to be, that's that one event that we all need to be at. We want to support, and there's so many great takeaways, be it relationship, FaceTime with our partners. We kind of talked about this, seeing what tech is out there. Other than that, it's really making sure that I've got a button-up plan, strategic plan for my executive team here. So growth and development is my why. Like when we talk about a business's why, everything here could be our 850 partners, our 400 employees, our 10,000 clients. I think that growth and development of all of them it is the key to success. So for us, I always tell our employees that it's a condition of your employment, because it's not fair to give our association partners nor our ag clients the 2023 version of us in 2024. So.
Yeah, well said. Well, are you going to Cleveland solo? And by that I mean, do you go by yourself, or do you pack up the boys and make it a family affair?
No, I do go by myself. I wouldn't subject the ASAE attendees to that. They're 3, 5, and 7, and they have a little bit of heathen in them from time to time. So, but we will pack up a good group from here and go up there. I think this year we will be there with 6 of our people. And I could tell you this, when I was looking at this, the average tenure of those 6 is 14 years of MultiView tenure.
Wow.
So these are people who really understand the association space. So.
That's incredible. Well, I'll be there as well. I'm going to come find you and check it out. Looking forward to it. What's a fun fact about Andy we couldn't find on the internet? And I know you can find a lot on the internet these days. It wasn't on your resume, isn't on the internet.
Let's see. I love to build race engines in my spare time. So that's kind of one of my hobbies that I do at home. I built my first car, got it from a junkyard. And so ever since then, I've just had I still love working with my hands, is what I would say. And that gives me that kind of calm, quiet moment without all the noise that MultiView brings my kids and my wife to a certain degree. So don't tell her I said that.
You build the engine. Do you ever put it in the chassis and get behind the wheel?
Oh yeah. Yep. So I've got a little.
You got some Oklahoma roots, right?
I do. So my father owned. My 2 grandfathers owned car dealerships. My father owned what we know as semi trucks. They're called over the road dealerships. And so he had those. And so I always had access to a shop and tools and guys who knew what they were doing. And so it's not a self-taught thing. I had a lot of good people showing me how to do it. So, yeah. But it's not that hard. That's the thing I can tell you about. It's not that hard. So.
Are you a race enthusiast? Do you hit the track?
I do a little bit, but at a very, very amateur level. So, yeah.
It seems like F1 is picking up speed here in the U.S.
It is.
No pun intended.
That track. So if you ever get to Austin, you should go to this Circuit of America's track that they've got out there. It's unbelievable. And the F1 guys tend to really like it. So, yeah. I
have 2 folks that are trying to tease me out to Austin. One that almost pulled us over to Miami. And I think it's just, for me, it's a matter of when, not a matter of if at this point. So
yeah.
Looking forward to that.
It's a great town. A lot of big companies, Tesla, Apple's building an enormous campus there. So they're really taking advantage of all the talent that's coming out of University of Texas and also Texas A&M with the 2 prominent engineering schools. And so it's a hotbed for good talent for tech companies.
Yeah, absolutely. I of the generation age now that I have some friends who have sent kids down to A&M recently. So It's attractive.
Yes, it is. Smart kids.
Andy, how about, looking back, you got a couple of decades in the association, is there a specific experience, moment, event that, it stands out to you at maybe was a proud moment that was, changed your trajectory in any way that, just looking back was kind of an exciting time?
What I would say is, because I started here on the sales side, seeing those buyer-seller relationships take place and connecting the two. I can give you just a personal story. American Society of Travel Agents, we were working the publication, and I was speaking with a tour operator, and I'd said, look, you know what, there's a lot of tour operators in here. Would you like to be the first one listed? And that's an additional, X amount of dollars and so forth. And he's like, okay, I'll try it for this year. So let's go ahead and do it. And he called me back like 5 or 6 days later, and he had booked like a $90,000 group based on that had found him there. And from that moment on, I was hooked. I've got other stories where I had a Ford dealership sell all of the Crown Vics to one particular sheriff's department that was a larger organization. I guess they can buy their fleet deals from the dealer. So it's good to know of the impact that you're making and the commerce that you're creating by introducing people. So
those are two great examples of publications, media, and associations connecting, right, and bringing people together, as you mentioned earlier in the episode. So thanks for sharing those.
Yeah.
I always have the unfortunate exercise of wrapping us up, but before I do, Andy, I'd love to hear, is there somebody in your network that you believe our audience would benefit from hearing from?
Somebody who I find to be dynamic, there's really two guys, two gentlemen. So Paul Vandeventer of MPI, he's been the CEO there for probably, I want to say 8-9 years, I believe. And then Matt Ott, who I'm sure a lot of your audience will know, great gentleman. I believe he was at grew up NGA when I first met him, and now he's the CEO of FPSA, the food production. So I would say either one of them would definitely be additive to your podcast.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for the referrals, and thanks especially, Andy, for the time. I really appreciate it. It's been a fun ride. The ride continues in MultiView, and I look forward to seeing you guys out in Cleveland.
All right. Look forward to it, Lucas. Thanks for the chance to talk here, and we'll get a Sprite or an adult beverage when we're in Cleveland. Sound good?
I'm definitely up for one of those. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, man.